So I was saying that I'd like to thank Sharq Forum for organizing such important workshop. It's very rare now to find such kind of dialogue between academics and between Islamist activists. At the time that the main discourse now in the region, even globally, is about counterterrorism, security, nothing about engaging or making such kind of inclusion to different trends of political Islam with, as well as with academics. I'd like to start my remarks by situating them within the most wider or more wider context that is defined by that we are living now in the Middle East in a moment of crisis. And this crisis manifests itself in different levels. It is some sort of multi-level crisis. On the local level or domestic level, we are witnessing the resurgence of brute authoritarianism, which has not been the case before even the Arab Spring. Now we are reversing back to a very brutal kind of context that doesn't not only allow to Islamists to participate, but even to liberal and secular forces. It's pretty hard now to speak about engaging or inclusion of any kind of political faction or party that might not align with authoritarianism. On the regional level also, we also witnessing this rise of anti-Islamist and anti-Islamism, counter-revolution that prevents any kind of political change in the region. And we find countries and governments, they pouring out billions of dollars to prevent any kind of a change in the region, no matter who will come out of this change, either Islamists or non-Islamists. Also, on the global level, we are living in a very disturbing era that is characterized by lack of understanding, anti-Islam, Islamophobia, far-right rise. All these circumstances absolutely have a lot of impact on Islamist movements. Moving from this broad overview, I would like to focus my remarks on the case of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt since the 2013 until now. And I will start by saying that since that time until now, the Brotherhood is in what we can call a soul-searching process on how to move from the crisis of 2013, how to respond to it, how to deal with its consequences. And this soul-searching process manifested itself in different changes. And I would say that the movement is now under ongoing transition to something that we don't know yet what would be the outcome of this kind of a transition. To try to capture the changes that are happening now, I would start by laying out 3 key changes. And this, well, to line up my remarks with what Muhammad told me when he asked me to participate in this, by speaking about 3 levels of changes that are happening now within the Muslim Brotherhood. The first level is the ideological level. What kind of ideological changes are taking place right now within the Brotherhood? Or the discourse level. Then the structural level. Do we have any kind of changes that are happening on the structural level or not? And then the strategic level. On the first level, I would speak of 3 key changes that are now taking place within the Muslim Brotherhood. The first, now for the first time, we are hearing this discourse about radical change, revolutionary change. The Brotherhood is known by its gradual approach in changing the society, the individual first, society, government, and so on and so forth. Now there is a new kind of thinking that the movement should be more revolutionary, more radical in its strategy in order to respond to ongoing changes in Egypt. And this is something new. Second, we are also witnessing this move of accommodation or accommodative approach or discourse to more confrontational discourse. And this is particularly among many of young brotherhood, that they are not anymore buying the mehna narrative, the ordeal narrative, that it's not anymore that we will accept repression and just surrender to it. We have to push back, we have to fight back. So there is the discourse of confrontation, that we need to respond to repression by different ways. I will come to explain how they respond to this kind of extreme repression. This also relates to the discourse of being offensive than being defensive, meaning that the movement is not anymore waiting to respond to the regime actions. Now the movement trying to put on a place some sort of offensive strategy to deal with the regime repression. It's very also significant that the Brotherhood over the last 30 years were moving a little bit from religious discourse to political discourse. Now we are witnessing some sort of reverse. There is a lot of emphasis on the religious language, the religious concepts, the religious ideas that are taking place now within the Brotherhood rank and file. The movement even used to be open before the coup. Now it is more inward, insular movement that is focusing mainly on its own objectives, not the wider objectives of society. This is the first level of changes, and these changes are still ongoing now. We don't know how these changes will, or what they will lead to, what will be the outcome of these kind of changes. The second level is the organizational structure changes, and I would refer to a few of them. The first one, that in the past we used to speak of a very disciplined, united, and integrated movement. Since the coup until now, this is not the case anymore. We are witnessing different divisions on different levels, across different lines. You would find, for instance, division between the older generation and the younger generation. Division between the inside the Brotherhood, the outside the Brotherhood, or those who are in exile. Division over how to respond to repression, whether the movement should resort to violence or remain peaceful as it used to be for the last 50 or 60 years. You have a crisis of legitimacy. Those who are pushing back against the coup in Egypt have gained a lot of legitimacy among the youth. So they are claiming some sort of power within the movement. That's why they formed what has been known اللجنة الإدارية العليا, or the Supreme High Committee. And now we have this kind of division between المكتب العام, هيئة المكتب العام, and the older leadership. So the question is now is, who speaks for the Brotherhood? This is one of the key questions that the Brotherhood now needs to answer. Also, you have this division over who manages and who controls the Brotherhood resources, particularly the financial resources and the media resources. So you have this kind of division over controlling resources within the Brotherhood. The third level of changes is the strategy. What kind of strategy the Brotherhood should adopt now? And here I can refer to a few changes or a few transformation. And I alluded to some of them in the beginning. But the first one and the most significant one is whether the Brotherhood should stick to its long-term peaceful participation or to adopt some sort of confrontational strategy with the regime. And within this specific point, you would find different types, different definitions of confrontation or pushing back. You would find those who might call for peaceful resistance by demonstrating in the streets, by not allowing the regime to push them into violence. On the other hand, you'll find those who are saying, no, we have to take revenge from the regime. We have to use some sort of self-defense violence, very low-level kind of violence. So this has not been the case, and we thought as scholars that the debate over using violence ended in the Brotherhood. Now we are witnessing the resurface of this debate right now within the Brotherhood. Second, on the strategy level, in the past, the Brotherhood used to reach out to different forces. They used to work through some sort of front or a bloc or alliances. Now the movement is very insular, very inward looking. So there is no much effort to reach out to other political forces, despite the fact that the time now, and as some people mentioned in the first session, that Egypt now is ripe for a change. The regime is failing. There is no such legitimacy. There are many victims of the regime among secular liberal forces. And despite all these circumstances, all opposition movements could not come together for a common platform on how to move forward and how to change the current situation in Egypt. So the Brotherhood, even if there is any initiative To move forward, you would find some people from the Brotherhood who are pushing back and saying, we will not put our hands in these people who pushed us out of power in 2013, which is a very short-sighted vision if we are talking about some sort of tactical movement to move forward. Okay. What are the results of these changes? I will speak of three very concise, brief results. The first one, there is absolutely an absence of a clear vision within the Brotherhood. They don't know what they want, they know how to move forward, they know how to respond to the current situation. Second, there is significant degree of fragmentation and divisions within the Brotherhood. There is no clear leadership. We're still seeing this contestation of legitimacy, who should lead the movement. The third one is the lack of appeal, particularly with the 24/7 demonization or brainwashing messages coming from the regime. The last thing is the migration of youth outside the movement. And this migration in different directions. One of them is moving towards violence. Even some young Brotherhood members, they joined forces like ISIS, for instance. Very few group. Then there is a migration towards apathy. There is no faith anymore in politics or in democracy. Even to some extent, there is no faith in religion itself. Some sort of atheist thrust. So these are the results of the current changes, and we cannot really reach to a conclusion on what's going on now. I think we need to have some time to put a clear analysis to what's going on now within the Brotherhood, and I will end with this note, and thank you.